All right, we're good.
Okay, everybody. We are on our Team Arise call tonight, and we are super lucky to have Katy Ursta on our call with us. I'm going to just introduce you a little bit, Katy.
Sure.
Katy is a mom to two boys, Nick and Dom. She is a three-time elite coach, three-time top 100 coach. She is a 2015 Humanitarian of the Year Award recipient, co-creator of the ESM, which is Every Sweat Matters project, and a cancer survivor. And according to her, she's just winging the rest of it. So we are super appreciative of you taking the time to speak to us tonight, and take it away.
Sure. Okay, so actually just a funny story about my husband came into the office just like a couple of minutes ago, and he basically told us, our shirt guy, we're having shirts made for the Every Sweat Matters project, and our shirt guy basically dropped the ball, and we have all of these shirts, hundreds of shirts coming in for Black Friday, and they are not here yet. So he is late on shipping them. So we're just kind of winging it. We're just hoping they come in by Friday. But that is the truth. And sometimes it feels like that in our Beachbody businesses as well, where you're just kind of figuring it out. You're kind of faithing it forward, and you're just kind of hoping that you have some kind of semblance of understanding of what you're doing. And truthfully, in the 4.5 years I've been coaching, it's been a lot of that. My best friend and I, we call it mustard seeding it. We just kind of mustard seed our way through it. We faith our way through it. So tonight, my job is to teach you just about being real and being authentic on your wall and in your life just in general, because I'll be honest with you, I really don't sell product at all. I really just share what I do, share what's working for me, share things I like, share things I don't like, and that's really what has ultimately moved my business forward for the past 4.5 years. But before I get into that, just a little background. I was actually a middle school teacher before I actually started coaching, and I loved my job as a middle school teacher. I was really passionate. I had the opportunity to create my own curriculum, and on the first week of school I would teach point of view, and so I would teach with the story of Alexander T. Wolf, and Alexander T. Wolf is the perspective of the big bad wolf. And I would come into the classroom, and I would have all these middle school kids, and they were seventh graders, and they were so awkward and funny because they were just trying to find themselves, but they were trying to be cool, but they were still kind of kids. And they would come into the room, and I would bring out this book, and it was a children's book about the true story of the three little pigs. And those kids would be in that room, and they would be like, is this cool? Is this not cool? But ultimately what happened was I would read this story to them, and they were so enthralled with the story of the true story of the three little pigs. And there's something so connecting there with even our own businesses and our job as coaches. We sometimes have this classroom of seventh graders who are in our lives, right? So you have all these people on social media who are kind of looking at what you're doing, and they're kind of thinking, well, maybe this is for me, but they don't want to, they aren't sure they really want to dive into it, or if they want to drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak. And so our job is to kind of give them that perspective. And the best way to do that is by sharing our own experiences and giving them our real life, our authentic selves on social media. And so tonight, I'm just going to walk you through some of the tips that I have for how you guys can do this. And the first way that I really want to share with you is that you have to be willing to embrace and trump adversity. And there was no play on words with Trump. I just really had that in my PowerPoint. You have to be willing to embrace and trump adversity. What we offer is a solution. And in order to understand that we offer a solution, you have to know that there is some type of problem. I tell my coaches all the time that Beachbody has this great mission, the mission of helping people achieve healthy and fulfilling lives. But we have to make that mission matter to us on a more individual basis. Like, what does a healthy and fulfilling life look like to you? Have you ever just sat down and really thought to yourself, what is a healthy and fulfilling life to me? Because chances are, for everybody who's on this call, that's a totally different definition. You know, your idea of healthy might be different from your friend's definition of healthy. Your idea of a fulfilling life is going to be different from those around you. But what you want to start doing on social media is painting this picture of what that mission means to you, because your audience is going to start connecting to this. So what I tell my coaches to do is you have to start visualizing what you want. You have to start creating this vision of what it means to have a healthy and fulfilling life. And I don't know, maybe you're there in your journey. You have a healthy life. You are fulfilled. Or maybe you, like many coaches, are in the process of finding it. You are in the process, in the trenches of transforming your life physically, financially, emotionally, whatever it might be. But it all comes down to your story. It all comes down to what brought you to this point where you are on this call with me and why you got to that point. And there's a really simple formula that can really work into any post. And I'm just going to walk you through those little pieces, those little nuggets that you can add. First, you had to start with what you were before Beachbody. Where were you before you were introduced to Insanity or P90X? Or that infomercial late at night when you were eating your bag of chips? Or where were you before you were rolling your eyes at your coach who wasn't inviting you to the opportunity, and you were kind of getting bitter because you wanted to do it, but you didn't want anyone to know you kind of wanted to do it? What's your story of your life before Beachbody? Or did you accidentally stumble upon it because you were a customer lead? Or maybe you went to a fit club. Your picture of what Beachbody was already determines that your story is authentic and it's original to you. But just like you had that story before Beachbody, you also had dreams and goals and aspirations long before you were a Beachbody coach. Did you dream of being a lawyer, a teacher, a stay-at-home mom? Did you dream of marrying somebody who would whisk you away? Or did you maybe dream of something like not having to work and not having a career, or instead just being able to go golfing every day as you wanted to? You had to have aspirations. You know, did you go to college and you majored in teaching and hated teaching? Or did you go to college and you dropped out? Or maybe you had a few things happen in your life. What were your dreams and goals before Beachbody? And then how did life happen in the meantime? Were you living out your dreams? Or was there a piece of you that was somewhat missing? Was there something that wasn't quite connecting? I remember very clearly, for me, that story was simple. I was teaching full-time. My husband was working full-time for Dell. We had great jobs, and we had just taken on a really big mortgage. And there I was at the grocery store, and my 2-year-old was with me, and I needed milk, and I think I needed diapers or something small. And I knew there was a small amount of money in our banking account. So I took out my debit card and I handed it over to pay, and he said to me 2 words that changed everything. He said, insufficient funds. And I was mortified. So I grabbed my credit card and I put like the $20 charge on the credit card. But those words, insufficient funds, changed everything, because I said to myself, there's gotta be more. It wasn't about becoming, you know, a full-time Beachbody coach. It wasn't about having some huge transformation. For me, it was looking at my life and saying, I'm working so hard and my husband's working so hard, but how in the world does anybody get ahead? How in the world does anyone just get more to life than getting by? I didn't understand that. And so I had this idea, like my dream and my goal before Beachbody was just getting ahead, not always being sort of at that point where maybe they'll accept my debit card or they won't accept my debit card. And so that is always this part of my story that I'm able to tell and weave into various posts and share in different ways. But it's something that I know that many of you on this call can probably sort of connect to. How many of us in our lives just think to ourselves, man, I hope my check or my credit card doesn't bounce, or man, I really don't know if we have enough in the account to get diapers this week. I hope the baby is good for a few more days, or can I reuse diapers? I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that. Well, maybe I have. But I'm just saying, in general, you have to have this dream and this goal before Beachbody. You were not always a Beachbody coach, but you always had this feeling or this dream or this aspiration or something that you wanted in your life. But often we shut it down because life gets in the way, right? So our job is to make that dream for other people kind of a reality. And in turn, we do it for ourselves. You see, when we create that vision for others, we're also doing it for ourselves. We're reminding ourselves that we too are worthy of greatness. The second part of that formula is very simple. How I lost my way. How did you lose your way in life? So we are solution oriented. You have to be able to connect to your audience by telling them about a time in your life where you lost a way. For us, it might be really easy to talk about our fitness goals. For me, it was after our wedding. After I got married is when I gained my weight. And I was, like so many people, you get comfortable, you just kind of let it go a little bit. How did you lose your way? Maybe in your fitness journey, maybe in your marriage, maybe in your health, maybe in your own career, whatever it was. That is part of your Beachbody story as well. And so when I think of my Beachbody story and how I lost my way, I thought about how we were always eating those Stouffer lasagna meals. We were hearing a lot about how it was low fat, fat-free. I don't know, do you guys like the lean cuisine things? I thought it was healthy. So I was just consuming those kind of calories, those empty calories, but I didn't really understand the chemicals that I was putting into my body. And so I talk a lot about that. I was lost in regard to health and fitness. It wasn't a solution for me. The solution for me was just not working. Number 3 is that moment that changes everything. So like I said in the example that I provided, my moment that changed everything was the words insufficient funds. What's your moment though? What is it that something finally clicked? What was the post that you saw that stood out to you that said, yep, now is the time? Or maybe it wasn't a post at all. Maybe it was that late note infomercial. Or maybe it was the time you put on your jeans and they actually didn't button. Or maybe you're the opposite and you actually did the transformation and the work on your own and you heard about coaching on the infomercial or on the commercials that they have on the videos. What is your aha moment where you realize, wait a second, I can do this? Or maybe you had been signed as a discount coach or as a coach for some time and then you realize, I think I want to actually work this business. I think I actually want to do this business. You had to have some kind of gut check reality moment where you said, I can do this. So ask yourself, what was that moment? And can you weave that moment into your posts? Can you weave that moment and make it so clear as a vision so other people can start to see it as well? Your job is to make sure you're putting yourself in a position where other people see you and they go, I can relate to her. And maybe their story isn't exactly the same, but there's a common theme of struggle, a common theme of hope, a common theme of just feeling of emotion. And all of that is what you are trying to do. Your job as a coach is trying to connect. It's not to sell, it's to connect to people. It's for people to get that you are that missing link that they need. The next part is how it worked. This is when it comes down to being a product of the products, which is of course one of our vital behaviors, right? As coaches, our job, we cannot successfully sell a product that we ourselves aren't using, that we don't believe in. So when I talk about how it worked, I talk about when you started to realize that you were either seeing this physical transformation or you were starting to feel a difference. When I first bought Shakeology, my coach signed me up and she explained to me that I would need what's called a challenge pack, and I didn't know what it was. She said I would need this workout, and it was Brazil butt lift. She said I needed Brazil butt lift, and I am not a Brazil butt lift girl. Honest to God, I did Insanity and P90X, and she sold me on Brazil butt lift. I just kind of put all that together. So I did Brazil butt lift, and then she said I needed this shake with it. And I remember looking at this shake and thinking, who in the heck would pay $130 for a bag of powder? Who would do that? And I did it. And I don't know why I did it, but she told me I had to do it in order to coach, which I later learned was not the case. She kind of lied to me. But I learned at that point that there was something about this Shakeology. But I had to really educate myself on what Shakeology was, and more importantly, I had to take it consistently every day to start to feel the difference. And I don't know if you've ever like had that point now in your coaching career where you screw up your Shakeology order and you're like a week behind, and you have like a week where you don't have your Shakeology, and you kind of go into this like, I don't know, I get like really anxious and my skin breaks out and I feel gross and I want my shake. You kind of become an addict of Shakeology. And so I guess we can call it drinking the Kool-Aid. But there is something about Shakeology. For every single person in here, you have a Shakeology story. If you're drinking it consistently every day, you are building your own toolkit of how to talk about Shakeology. But go beyond your own experience. Yes, you're going to share your story, but you want to kind of know a little bit more about that. If somebody comes to you and they say like, well, how does this all work? Like, why am I buying this bag of expensive powder? Yep, you really want to have your own story, but you also want to make sure that you're educating people on the fact that you are eating pure, real food as opposed to chemicals and additives that we put in so many of the products that are on our gym shelves, in GNC, in and grocery stores. People just aren't educated on that. So you have to kind of become that person who's going to advocate for health. And you're going to do that by building your own story of how Shakeology worked for you, and also how it's worked for your customers. And you're just going to build that. But you have to start to connect it together. So at this point, we talked about where you were with your dreams and goals, how you had lost your way, your aha moment, that moment that changed everything, and how it started to work. So that's your transformation. So when I talk about how it worked, I'm saying, is it a physical transformation? Is it one where you felt, or did you drop weight? Was it a side-by-side image that you can share? Or maybe you didn't have that side-by-side transformation, but something else happened. You know, Danielle Natoni on the National Wake Up Call not too long ago talked about how she didn't have that side-by-side, but she did have a huge emotional transformation. I don't know about you, but I know that simply being a part of my team has completely changed my life. It has completely changed the way that I think, the way that I feel about myself, the way that I, even mother my own children. So it has completely transformed my life. And to be honest with you, in having that transformation, I feel like I would kind of be a jerk if I didn't share it with other people. I mean, I really think not only is it my job as a coach to share it with people, but I would be like a real jerk if I didn't share it. And because I look at it that way, because I look at it as a way of I'm obligated to share this because it helped me, that makes it easier for me to share. That makes it easier for me to put my story out there. And then the next step of embracing and trumping adversity is explaining where you are now. Because sometimes there's a great disconnect between where you are now versus where somebody else is maybe looking at you to inspiration. A lot of times I find that people think I can't do what you do, because they don't see the connection. They don't see how to bridge the gap. And our job as coaches is to explain to them where we were, but also explain to them that there is a simple solution to get to where you are. In the fitness, it's this simple. You follow the nutrition plan, you check in daily, and you follow the workouts. You get results. There's no what if. There's no it could work. It might work. No. If you do this, I guarantee you're going to see results. And if you don't, you can send it back. But truthfully, we don't know how to coach people if they aren't doing those things, right? I mean, I'm not a fitness expert. I'm not a nutritionist. So as a coach, I don't know how to coach someone who isn't doing those things, who isn't following a nutrition plan, who isn't following the workouts, and who isn't staying accountable within the group. If you're not doing those things, I just can't coach you, which also makes it easier to kind of not get the objection as with prices sometimes, right? Because if you explain to them that you can't coach them unless they have the entire toolkit, it makes it easier, right? And then the other part, I was going to say something else about that. I'll come back to that because I want to make sure you guys understand that too, is it's the same with the business, right? As coaches, I don't feel like I can successfully coach someone if they aren't doing the basics. If somebody isn't inviting, if they're not being a product of the product, if they're not recognizing themselves or their challengers or just sharing on social media, and if they're not doing personal development, I just don't know how to coach them. I just don't know how to help them. So when I think about where I am at this point, bridging the gap is telling them what they need to do to get there and keeping it so simple. Hey, if you want to get to where I am with fitness, you follow the nutrition plan, you check into the accountability group, and you follow the workout plan. Right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. If you want to be successful as a coach, here's what you need to do. You need to invite, you need to be a product of the product, you need to do personal development, and you need to recognize. I think belief is another big one, but I think that should be a vital behavior, to be honest with you. But bridging the gap is so important between where you are now and where they are. Make it so simple for them to see that. Keep it so basic for them. Vital. It's vital, but it's basic. You just need to do these things consistently over and over and over again. And then the last way to embrace and trump adversity is letting them know how you can help them, how you are going to help them get their solution. What are you going to do that sets you apart? You've spent all this time going over your past, where you were, the moment that changed everything, how it worked for you, where you are now, but most importantly, and this is a step that coaches miss all the time, is how are you going to help them? So not only is it your call to action, but it is a very clear, this is what I can do for you. I can teach you how to. I can show you how to. I can provide for you, and say specifically what your skill is that you are going to give to them. And that's really how you create that vision. So you have to live that, you have to breathe that, and you have to be it. You got to live it, you got to breathe it, and you got to be it. You have got to live and preach what you say you are preaching. Your story is what changes somebody else's life. But you can't be a closet coach and be afraid to tell someone your story. You tell it like somebody else needs it, okay? All right, so I talked a little bit about that. I'm not going to go over that. I don't think. Okay, so, all right, so I just want to add this part to it. I run my groups a little bit differently, and I focus a lot on personal development within my group. So I've done a couple of faith-based books. I've done one with Lisa TerKeurst. I don't know. Does anyone know Lisa TerKeurst? She wrote the book Made to Crave, and she wrote the book Unglued. So I know that for me, when I coach people, I add that little fine element of personal development because I know how much that has impacted my life. So last month I I did a group based on Made to Crave. So this book is by a woman named Lisa TerKeurst, and basically this book explains to people why you really are craving, like why you really are sneaking into the pantry at 10 o'clock at night after the kiddos go to bed and snacking on all of their food. And so I was very open. If you go back and you look at some of my Made to Crave posts on my wall, I talked very openly about having a food addiction. And I talked very candidly, and it was hard to put myself out there in that regard. But that book was something that so many people related to. And I ended up achieving my highest Success Club points last month because of that book, because I chose to put myself out there in that way. But the reason I'm sharing this is because you have to focus on this one thing. Focus on being the blessing, and the blessings come back to you. So if you focus on being the blessing to someone else, the blessings will come back to you. I used to be so focused on hitting numbers, like hitting Success Club numbers, hitting a certain number of new recruits, hitting a certain number of X, Y, and Z. And I got so number focused that I lost my own focus. I lost my focus on my own health and fitness. I lost my focus on the purpose behind the business. And so I just kind of called BS on it. And I ended up saying, this isn't working for me. This isn't how I want to do it. And I started to find ways to make the groups feel good again and to feel really connected to them. And for me, that was through those books by Lisa TerKeurst. And it became something where in order for me to be successful, I had to be in running those type of groups, and why I was running those groups, they had to know what the bigger issue was for me, why I really wanted to be able to run those groups. So I had to put myself out there. I had to talk to people about some of the struggles that I was having with food. I had to be willing to talk to people about how I was before I read this book, even as a coach, some of the struggles that I was going through, and how this book has started to change everything. And because I put the book first and focused on that, people were naturally drawn to what I had to say. But I didn't focus on the numbers. I focused really on how I knew. I knew without any doubt, and I was very confident that if they read that book, they drank Shakeology, they followed a fitness plan, that they were going to see results. And by far, those were my best transformations, because we got to the heart of the bigger issue. We got to the root of why they were all really eating. So that's kind of something that I wanted to mention to you. And then I just really try to go above and beyond with customer service. I really try to focus on helping my customers see the most amazing results that they have. So it's like undersell and over deliver. Like you give them the basis of what you're going to do, but then you over deliver what you actually do. And I know that behind every transformation that I have is an opportunity for a referral or a potential coach, because my job starts when I sell the challenge pack. And I think that's what makes this company so different, and what makes us different than any other MLM company out there is our job doesn't start until the sell happens. I mean, that's when we really commit to someone. So sometimes I think to myself, if we earn that Success Club point, would that Success Club point mean something to us maybe 2 months down the road? Would they still be invested in us as a coach? It's kind of a gut check, right? To ask yourself, were they just a point at that time, or did they matter 2 months later? And I know this is all about the story, and I know this call is about that, but I really think at the end of the day, people are going to connect to you, and you want to make sure that what they see on Facebook is what they're also receiving when you put them in a challenge group. Are you that same person that you're putting out there on social media? I've had those bummer experiences where I see someone on social media and I think they're so awesome, and then I meet them in person and I'm like, womp womp. What happened? And then I kind of go, oh, I hope no one says that about me. So I just want you to remember that when you're in your challenge groups and you're utilizing something like Facebook Live, you want to make sure that you're giving them the picture of what you've painted out there, and that what you've painted is your reality. Every post you do has a bigger purpose behind it. What is the purpose that you are giving to people? Why are you putting yourself out there? What's your reason for posting this? Is this giving people a little glimpse of who you really, really are? Okay? And then the last thing I like to do is I just like to give people a little bit of extra. And I'll tell you what's working for me right now. The little emojis, if I just use like a sentence or two and then I put a little emoji by it, it seems to do really well in Facebook. Videos, I do live. They get a lot of traction. And I'll often do them even within my challenge group, because Facebook Live, it gives people an opportunity to really get to know me. It gives people an opportunity to like hear my voice and feel like I'm speaking directly to them. So a lot of times I do go live in groups. I run free groups, and in those free groups, I often go in and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And a lot of them think I'm nuts, and then they leave the group, but that's okay. That's all right. And then the last thing, or actually two more, I'll give you two more. I give small tweetables, which are just like really, really small, like sentences or little, like something you would almost find in a fortune cookie, or you would put it on a t-shirt, or it's just a mic drop kind of statement. And it's just really bold, it's quick, and they're a great way to end the evening. So a lot of times on my, my One Fit Fighter page, my like page, I'll do those in the evening, and they're a great way to like close the evening. Sometimes they're questions, sometimes they're just things that make you think, or sometimes they're just a reminder to go to God with your issues. And then the next one, oh, this one's so fun. This is my middle school invite philosophy. So I want for all of you guys to think of that person in middle school that intimidated the heck out of you. Do you know who I'm talking about? The person that scared the crap out of you, the person that you thought was so cool, and you were like, I can't even be in their presence because they're super, super cool. I want you to invite them to what you're doing. I'm serious. I want you to reach out to somebody that you know from middle school, and I want you to put your shoulders back, and I want you to stand tall, and you are going to say, I'm going to invite them to what I'm doing. I can do this. And once you do that, once you kind of conquer that fear of inviting someone that you were a little bit intimidated by, you are going to be like, I am a pretty awesome person. I am a freaking rock star at this, because it gives you confidence. And this is a true story. My number one coach in my organization, she's a 5-star diamond coach. She scared the crap out of me. And the first time that she reached out to me about a challenge group, I thought she was making fun of me. I'm serious. And she's one of my best friends now. But it's true. We want to make sure that we are not leaving anybody out. And so even those people from your past, from high school, from middle school, sometimes those are the people we are so afraid to reach out to. But they might be watching what you're doing and thinking to themselves, man, I wish I had that confidence. I wish I had that ability to put myself out there, or just go for something that intimidates the heck out of me. And it's all about perspective. Choose to look at the bad day in this business is still a pretty good day. The perspective that you are here, you're present, you're on a call, and you're being inspired on a Tuesday night simply because you have been gifted this opportunity by either somebody who invited you or somebody that you reached out to. And when I always think to myself that I have been blessed by this, it gives me this feeling of wanting to pay it forward to other people, because a gift isn't a gift unless you give it away, right? So guys, I think that is all I have for you. I hope those little nuggets helped a little bit, but I'm open for any questions that you guys have as well if you want to. If you have any, that's all I got though.
That was so awesome. Definitely 3 pages of notes that I took, and I'm sure everyone else took a ton. I'm going to open it up for everyone because I can always ask questions. So if anyone does have questions, just unmute your line and don't be afraid. This is our opportunity to seize the day.
It's like the middle school philosophy right now. Just pretend I'm that middle school friend of yours.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm also a teacher and have kids, so I was wondering, about your schedule, because I find it like teacher meetings, if you can tell me a little bit how your schedule went whenever you were working at the business and I'm teaching.
Yeah, it was really basic, and I was really good at sticking to it too. But I would get up in the morning. I would get up at 5 a.m. and I would do my workout, and I would do my check-in, and I would answer any emails from the night before. And then I would have one post. It was always the same. I would do one post first thing in the morning. And then I didn't post throughout the day because I wasn't allowed to. So I wouldn't post throughout the day. And my challengers knew that. My coaches knew that as well. So at 4 o'clock, I would actually stay at school for about an hour afterwards. And I would either do some calls. I would check in on like national wake up calls, or I would do my inviting or whatever it might be. And then I really worked my business from like 9 to 10 in the evening when I got home. So in actuality, when I started, I really started this business in 2.5 to 3 hours a day. And it's totally doable. I think a lot of people see where I am now, or see, you know, where your uplines are, and you kind of think, oh my gosh, I don't have that time. Honest to goodness, I built it in 2.5 to 3 hours a day, and sometimes more on the weekends. But I just had that vision the whole time of, I never want to get to the grocery store and not be able to pay for my groceries. Like, that was enough of a vision for me at that time to keep me going. And then as my business grew and my vision grew, it grew from, okay, well now, you know, I want to extend my maternity leave. Okay, well now I want to get my healthcare benefits paid for. Okay, well now I want to leave the classroom. And it grew over time, but the vision just started as, I don't ever want to go to Giant Eagle again and have that embarrassing situation where it says insufficient funds. So just keep that vision in the front of your mind and just say, all right, these are my hours. This is what I need to do every day. Yep. Cool. Anyone else?
I have a question. What kind of free groups do you run? I've been very not feeling the free group thing, only because I run like more than one challenge group at a time. And I do work during the day, so checking in can be a little bit hard. But I've had people accept my invite for like a challenge group. But there are people that have been following me. They'll message me like, oh, you're so inspiring. I loved your post today. I'm so glad. I got up. I went running. Or, you know, and they're not actually my customers. They're just people that I know that are, you know, on a fitness journey of their own. But they say in the invite that they want to do it. And then when I message them, I've had a couple of people say, oh, I thought this was just like a little support group, like, you know, to get through the holidays. And I was like, well, it is, but, you know, it's, you know, and I go into that whole spiel. So what kind of free groups do you run, and how do you not have them get like overwhelming when you're already really committed to your customers?
Yeah, I only run one a month. And I have an ongoing group, so I don't run different groups. I just keep adding people to that one group. And at this point, the people who are in there, they know that I'm going to run a new group every month with a new new workout. So for example, like October was arms. So it was like bye-bye bat arms or something like that. And then in November, it was like I think a plank challenge. And so what I do is I only run my free group once a month for 1 week. And so during that 1 week, I'm the only one who can post in there. But what I do is I create like these JPEGs, these images that have the workout of the day. And then people comment and they post underneath when they do their workout of the day. But a lot of times I go in there and it's become a ground for me to be able to advertise more challenge groups for people. And I am able to talk up what I do in a challenge group within that free group. And at this point now, most of my challengers come from my free group. And I never pressure them to buy anything. I only advertise in there like twice, maybe 3 times a month. But I'll say things like, you missed me yet? You guys want another workout? All right, well, you know, I have to advertise something real quick. And I joke with them. Like, I'm very honest with them. I'm like, you know, I have to feed my children. So who wants to join my challenge? So I'm very like bold and confident with it, but they also are getting to know me as well. But there are times like I get down to business with it. So yeah, in my free groups, I have one group. I never run multiple groups. I do one group. I do it once a month. And then I go from my free group, and the next week is always going to be my challenge group. So it goes from free group, the next week is challenge group.
So you have like an ongoing group always.
Yeah. I'll show you my calendar.
Also a challenge group?
Yeah, let me show you my calendar. Hold on.
Because I have an ongoing, like my Fixed and Fabulous group that after someone does like a round or two within a challenge group, I move them over. They get to, that almost runs itself. They're wonderful in there. And then I run like right now I have a Core de Force group with some fixers in there as well running this month. And I'm starting another one at the beginning of December. And
it helps me really honestly to map it out. So I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but I'm going to try. because this is what everybody asks me about is my free groups. Can you guys see that? So this is December. And so what you see, like the CDF launch group, this is my quarter four. So we'll be finishing that group up on the 6th of the month. The purple tells people what I focus on with advertising. So this whole week and a half, I'm going to be focusing on coaching. I have a holiday group that's going on starting on the 27th, and I do a shortened preseason for that. But then I also have, like, here is where the week of the 4th, I advertise for the free group. And then I start the free group on the 12th. And so from the 12th until the 23rd, this one's going to be a longer one just because of the holiday. I will run a free group. And then I'll start early enrollment for my challenge group. So December is not the best example that I have for it, but I always run my free group up against my challenge group, because my free group participants really always become my challengers. So I keep them back to back. This holiday though, I mean, with the December holiday, it can get a little bit difficult, but I really sit down and I map out what my month looks like. I take that time to map it out, and I share that with my team. And you guys can see I'm also going, my BattleBot class and everything. So, but yeah, this is how I do it for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sure. And I have a couple of calls. I've done calls for a number of coaches on free groups and holding areas and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure if you go onto YouTube and you just say Katy Ursta free groups, I think that I've done a number of them. So you can check them out there. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
I have a question about that also. So I get so caught up with like making the cover photo and making like thinking of the name of the group and this and that, and like, do you tell the people in your group like that you're going to keep running it, or?
No, I ask them what they want. I run a poll, and I say, what do you guys want to work next? And I'll ask them, like, do you want to do arms? Do you want to do legs? Do you want to do abs? And they tell me, and then I'll say, does anyone have a catchy name? Like, they basically do the work for me. And then for like a banner, I mean, I usually I go to Fiverr, Fiverr, I think. I could be wrong about that spelling. And they're stock images. And I'll buy like a stock image, and I'll just put like arm challenge, or One Fit Fighter's arm challenge, or One Fit Fighter's leg challenge. No, I really don't. I don't have time to make things really pretty. Hence why my house looks like it does. If that helps. I don't know if that helps. But I really like pretty things. I just don't have time to do it. Any other questions?
When you run your challenge groups, do you keep people in there ongoing, or are your challenge groups always new challengers?
Some of them come back. I don't have an ongoing challenge group. I've never done those that way. Some of them come back, some of them don't. So, for example, everyone who was in my Made to Crave, they're coming back for Unglued, every single one of them. So I think it just depends. And they were all very, very active, and they're excited and they're thrilled for the Unglued challenge. So I think it just kind of depends. And sometimes people take a little break, and but most of them are in my free workout, and they'll be active in there. Or, I just did a whole 30 for free. Like the whole 30 challenge. I did that, and I had a lot of people in there, so they were doing that instead of a challenge group. So no, I don't really have an ongoing challenge group. I've never really run one. And I've heard they do great, but for me, no. They just come back if they want to be in my challenge groups.
Okay. And so then the next question I have is for those, you were talking about customer service and, giving a little bit of extra in that. How do you keep people engaged then? Is that mostly through your free group page, or, do you touch base with them every month, couple of months?
Sometimes it's just a personal message. Sometimes it's just a, hey, I'm thinking of you. Or, the other day I wrote a card. I knew that one of my challengers was going through a treatment. And so I just wrote her a card and let her know I was thinking of her. Cards go a long way. Like just saying like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoyed having you in my challenge group and I appreciate you. Sometimes somebody just gives me a referral and I send them like a $15 gift card or a $10 gift card that just says, I just want you to know that I really appreciated your referring Jess over to me. She's rocking this challenge and you helped inspire her to get fit. So honestly, it's just about doing that little extra that other people won't. Like the things that you kind of say, oh, I should do, but then most of the time we don't actually do it. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind of things that mean additional customer service, I think. And they're the kind of people that are going to come back to you. At this point, too, I'm noticing that there's a lot of people who have had coaches in the past and their coaches quit or they had a horrible coach experience or they didn't even know what a challenge group was when they signed up with the challenge pack. And so I really want to make sure they understand that my job as a coach and they're clear on it. Yep, I'm going to give you tough love and I'm going to tell you when you're not going to meet your goals because of the way that you're, the workouts that you're missing or some of the habits that you're creating or the nutrition plan that you aren't following. I'll call you out on that. I'll do it kindly, but I still have a job to do. So you're setting that standard of tough love, but you're like the role model and you're the leader. And so they know and they value you and they appreciate you, but they also know that you mean business. And so you kind of set that for them in the beginning.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Anything else?
Hi. So I actually do have a question. How do you move them over from your free group over to your challenge group?
Personal messages. So usually what's happening is they're either commenting or liking something when I post about a challenge group and I start a conversation with them. But if they're active in my free group and I'm noticing it, I'm going out of my way to like message them and to talk to them and to say like, hey, I see what you're doing. You're kind of rocking this. And I'll just start a conversation with them. And then from there, I just basically, I say, like I would any other person, I just give them the link, the Facebook link to the challenge group.
Okay, the reason I was asking is because I have a free group right now. I've actually been running a few in the past few months. And I have a lot of the same people come back to my free groups, but they don't want to move over. Like, I don't know how to
And some won't. Yeah. I mean, so it is that same idea of they're on your list of people who are on your potentials. You never scratch them out, but you keep moving on. So let them continue to be part of your free group. But I do ask, every month I say at the very beginning, I kindly ask that you guys invite 5 to 10 of your friends. And, if you feel like they aren't even doing that, remove them. You don't have to. You can use your own sort of judgment as to, if they're doing their part, if they're, I can't say worth the time, but you kind of get a feel like for who's maybe just going in your free group to go into your free group. But a lot of times they just aren't ready. They just haven't seen the value yet. And so I always plug in little nuggets of like myself, like just like I share my story on my wall, I'm sharing my personality and pieces of my story in the free group too. So they're seeing that. And it's nice because I know in a group, they're really actually seeing it versus on your wall. You sometimes don't know if people are even seeing it.
Yeah. What about, I'm sorry. Well, I've lost it. I'll be back.
Okay.
Katy, I have a question. You mentioned about that middle school invite, and can you give an example of how you would word like an invite like that, or how you'd articulate it to someone?
Yeah, so first of all, number one, I'm active on their page. So if it's somebody that I have kind of been talking to, or, like we've just been sort of engaged on each other's Facebook pages or with the kids or pictures of the kids, I form them the same way I would somebody else. So I say, your kids are getting so big. How are they? Are you still living in the Pittsburgh area? What do you do for a living? What are your hobbies? And are you still playing soccer, adult league soccer, those kind of things. So I really just go over the form method. And then in my message, I say, I kind of remember the way you were in high school or in middle school. And I remember it was very natural for you to lead. And I'm just giving an example. There's a girl named Jamie that I've been talking to. And I remember her being a leader. And so I just say, you have, from what I remember, some abilities that I look for when I'm creating my team. And truthfully, I don't recruit a high number of people. I recruit people who are working the business. I don't recruit a lot of discount coaches. And so when I talk to people about the coaching opportunity, it's because I legit think they can coach. I actually want to invest time in them and help them develop as a coach. And so I will go at it from that angle. What quality did they possess? And chances are it was something like confidence. When you were younger, they had that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
What quality did they possess that you can go back and say, this is what I remember from you from high school or middle school. And I am looking for this type of person to be a coach, to be a challenger, whatever you're looking for them to do.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure, of course.
Just on what you just said, so you invite to coaching even with them not being challengers? Because I know a lot of the coaches say they want them as a challenger first, then invite to the coaching.
If I know them, if I know them outside, just from my personal life, I would. Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to caution you and I'm going to say they're a challenger first. When they become a coach, the first thing that they do is they go into a challenge group.
Got it.
And honestly, the first month, I don't really focus on the business as much as I focus on their fitness. And the first thing I ask when I get on a one-on-one call with my new coaches is, let's talk business in a minute. I want to hear about your fitness. Talk to me about what's going on.
Perfect.
Because that is the key. If you can get them on with their fitness, the business becomes a lot more natural for them.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
Sure. Anything else, guys?
All right, I'm going to finally jump on in and kind of revert back to the whole story thing. So I know your story, and you really are very vulnerable, and you share those deep, dark, and you put it all out there, right?
Yeah.
How do you invite your new coaches to kind of be that vulnerable? Because a lot of them are, thinking, what are people going to think about me? Or I don't want my relatives to know this. Or, you know what I'm saying? They always have that. Well, I can't do that because ...
Yeah. Well, I do think number one, it's a skill. You're going to put a lot of poop posts out there. There's a lot of just posts that you're going to go, oh, I can't believe I posted that. I don't necessarily think it is always something that people will do. There are coaches that at the end of the day, they are not willing to do it, or it's going to take them longer to put themselves out there. But I have always found that at the beginning, I really do let them know that if you are interested in working this as a business, a big part of what we do is put ourselves out there. And we have to be willing to make ourselves vulnerable, because that is what makes an impact. And honestly, nobody in this business deserves or has a right to make an income if they aren't making an impact. So I let them know that too, is if you are going to make an impact, it's going to be first by setting the example, by letting people know where you were, by sharing your story. And I have always, always, always felt that if I share my story, it is simply to inspire somebody else. And usually those are the kind of people that I naturally tend to attract to my business, are the people who get that, because I've put that out and I attract what I am. So those are the kind of people that, not everybody, but a lot of them are naturally going to do it, because I have made it just a non-negotiable in my business. They have seen me or watched me do it time and time again. And they get that is connected to my business, and how I actually grow my business is by putting myself out there. So you will know, a lot of my coaches, it's obvious they're my coaches because they post like me. They share their story like me. And I know that if they aren't willing to do that, we're not doing those vitals we talked about. There's going to be a disconnect in the bridge if you're not doing one of those vitals.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, girls, last call. All right, I think we're good. Katy, thank you so much.
Sure.
You and your family have an amazing Thanksgiving, and we really appreciate you jumping on with us.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a blast. All right, guys, I'll chat with you soon. Have a great night.
Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.